Sporting Journal Radio, presented by Onyx.
All right, our next guest is Cam Smith. He was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings in 2019 in the 5th round. He's a linebacker, and then announced in August of 2020 that he needed open heart surgery. Holy smokes. And how he found that out, that's quite a story we'll ask him about too. He returned briefly in 2021, only to announce his retirement from football shortly after that. What happened? What's he doing now? Well, since he's on this show, I bet it has something to do with hunting and fishing. So we're going to find out. He joins us now here. Cam Smith, thanks for being on the show with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
How are you doing? Everything good health-wise?
Everything's great. Yeah, I mean, we picked up and we just changed our lives drastically. So that little bit of life that's kind of unknown, it's kind of, what are we doing next, makes it a little bit uneasy, but for the most part and for every other aspect of it, life is great. I mean, my girlfriend and I live out in Texas, and we're just, we're enjoying life again. We're going out and chasing what we want to do. So that's exciting.
Texas, man, that'd be a fun state to live in. I'm a little jealous. I mean, I like where I'm at. I like being up here in the north, but Texas is a fun state. And let's talk about, the last year or two. I mean, what a crazy time in the world, first of all, but you had some curveballs thrown in there as well, throwing some open heart surgery. I think you got a lot of us beat in the craziness. Tell us what happened.
It was all due to COVID. We came back on July 21st, I believe it was, and of 2020. We had to do 3 COVID tests in a row and test negative for all of them. And then we could step foot in the building. So the first one, I get tested, and we're just kind of going throughout the rest of the day. I'm going to work out after, and there was like a kind of an app type deal where it would go on and show your results. So I'm looking at it, and it's like positive. Does that mean, there was an antibodies part and then the COVID test part? And I was like, all right, positive. So maybe I had it. I was on Big Island for the 4th of July. So, maybe that was where I got it, and now I'm good or whatever.
You can catch a lot of things on Big Island on the 4th of July.
That you can do right there. So, I mean, I was around a bunch of people, and they're like, "No, I think you're reading that wrong. I think you have COVID currently." And I was like, "All right, well, that's not good." So come back the next day, I test negative for both. Following day, negative again. Following day, negative again. So I'm all right, cool. They're like, all right, come in and go through your our physicals, and you'll be ready to go day 1. So I'm like, cool. Go through. You get the entire physical is EKG, hearing, sight, full body physical, and get the EKG, and then part of testing positive for COVID, you have to go in and get an echocardiogram. So they send me in that following day. I go get an echo, and I come back, and our head trainer, Eric Sugarman's like, "We need you to get an MRI." Okay, interesting. So I go get the MRI, and then when I come back, they tell me that like we're pretty concerned. Your heart is 3 times the size of a normal heart. It showed that I had a bicuspid aortic valve, so I had 2 flaps. One of the valves that push blood throughout the rest of my body from my heart normally has 3, like kind of like a peace sign looking deal. Mine only had 2, and then one of the flaps was longer than the other one. So when it would clamp to stop the blood, it would slide, and blood would be regurgitating back into my heart. Well, the very first doctor, the very first cardiologist I went and saw in Minneapolis, she looked at me like, "Yeah, football's done. Like, you need a mechanical valve. You're gonna be on blood thinners for the rest of your life." And I was like, "Oh, blood thinners? Like, you can't do anything on that, right?" She goes, "No, like your whole life is gonna be totally different." I go, "No, it's not. Like, I'm not gonna be on blood thinners for the rest of my life, and football's not done either." So, luckily, the following day, John Dornbos, he played in New Orleans for 16 years, and then got traded to Philadelphia. And he actually was found out that he had the exact same bicuspid aortic valve than I did. And then he had an aneurysm, and his was a lot more severe. He was a little bit older. So he reached out and he said, here's the surgeon that I use. This is the guy you want. It's the only person you want. And so I got on a FaceTime with that heart surgeon, like the following day, or even maybe it was that day. And he looked at me like, I've worked on baseball players, I've worked on fighter jet pilots, I've worked on basketball players, and all of them have returned to play the sport that they want. I will do the same for you. I was like, cool. Like, I like that you not only want to fix me and make me better, but you also want to make me better. Like, you're not trying to just change my life forever and make me some, low life person who can't even leave the house. If I fall, then I die. So I thought that was really, really cool. And I liked that our mindsets were on the same page, where he was trying to get me to live like a 24-year-old active adult that I was. So I met with him out of Philadelphia. He did the surgery, and within I think it was 2 weeks prior to that, to the surgery, like my heart had already been back down to its original size. All I was waiting for was my sternum bone to heal, and after that, like I worked from January through the start of fall camp, just worked to get back and worked to try and play football again, and successfully did so. And yeah, so I'm definitely one of probably the only cases where I can say that COVID saved my life. If I didn't test positive for COVID that one time, which I'm still thinking it's a false positive because I don't remember ever having it. But without that, who knows when I would have played through the whole year. Who knows if I would have died, or I would have died at a pretty young age, and because of this. And yeah, my life is totally different because of it.
What could have happened? I mean, if they hadn't caught that, what could have happened?
So I asked him, I said, can I maybe monitor this and like play through the year and then get the surgery at the end of the year? I was like, this is a pretty big year for, every year in the NFL is a big year, but I'm like, I'd like to be able to try and play if I can. Like, yeah, we could maybe monitor it and you could maybe make the season, or they would look over and you would be dead on the field. Huh. Like not like, oh, get him to the hospital. Like, you'd be dead. Like within seconds, you would be dead. So probably not worth it. We'll just get the surgery and do that. So, luckily the Vikings organization is just top notch, and they just supported me through the whole thing, stood by my side, and made the whole situation easier and allowed me to, to stay around the team the whole year and come back for the fall and training camp. And I owe a lot to them. They stood by me in an industry where that's not very common.
Sure. So then you come back, and in fact, Dan was at the game, the first game, that preseason game where you came back, and then you suffered an injury in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
Well, I had in like May, I was like, all right, I've been doing a lot to get back to this game. Like I'm putting a lot on my body to try and play a game, that it's a little bit different for me. Like we got a lot invested in this, and I still love the game, and I love being around the guys and stuff like that. But when I got the concussion, it just made me think, like, all right, like I just had open heart surgery, and they say my sternum bone is stronger than it was before because I'm tied together with fish wire, and I'm like, all right, I should be fine there. But then when I get the concussion, I was like, I got a lot more outside of life that I want to live. It's always been a dream to run around with my kids, remember their names, like just some serious things that get risked playing the game of football. And so when I got the concussion, that was the first documented concussion that I've ever had. And I felt like, I was like, if this is a concussion, like I've had a lot of these. Let's be real. Like this, if we're gonna call this concussion where I hit my head and I saw some stars, I'm like, you as a football player, it's different saying it now because now like, like I'm not part of the game like in a way anymore. But I'm like, I've seen stars and hit my head so hard that, on a every other week basis for the lot since I was probably more so like sophomore year of high school. Like since then, it's been, my head's been, I mean, you're in car accidents, especially at linebacker, 45 plays a game. Like every play I'm running into somebody else.
Collision.
So that just kind of, it's head-on-head collisions with guys that are 300 pounds, like, or a mean 240, a Dalvin Cook, a CJ Ham that are running really hard. I'm like, I don't know if this is it for me anymore. Like I got, like I said, I had a lot of other stuff outside of the game that I was so ready to live in a way that I was like, I think this is it. And it's I don't know, I'm happy I'm happy that I'm here where I am now without having some serious, I guess you'll never know. I mean, we'll never know if we have like serious injuries because even the CTE stuff, they can't tell until you're dead. So, but I'm glad to be here right now and have got the opportunity to play for such a great organization like the Vikings. Got to follow my dreams, and it was such a great opportunity, such a great, it was a great life that I lived for just playing football through it all. And now it's time to move on and follow dreams and follow the passions that are, sorry if I'm rambling, but football is a passion. And I mean, for me, it was a passion that became a job, and it's a job that asks a lot of you. And even though it's only 6 months and people look at it like, what a great life, man. You only work for 6 months. You work 365 days a year. You're working out. Everything you do revolves around the game of football. What you eat, how you work out, the people you hang out with. It's constantly thinking about a job. And then for that 6 months, it's the most daunting tasks that someone can ask you to do, running into another human being full speed.
Yeah. I don't know.
With fans, other people that have never played football before criticizing you. It's a lot. It took a toll on me. I was like, this is not the same.
Yeah. Man, first of all, let us say we're glad you're still here too. I get it. The dream of playing the NFL. I mean, we both played high school football, well, obviously not the same level, but you fall in love with it, and you dream of playing in the NFL someday, and to have it cut short with an injury, it sucks. I get it, but that game is so rough, and you hear so many horror stories now about guys that have been playing for a long time, especially with concussion issues and things like that. That there is more to life than football. And I'm sure you've talked about football a lot. So I want to get away from football a little bit and talk about something that's near and dear to our hearts and sounds like yours too. And that's waterfowl and duck hunting. Because it sounds like you're jumping into that world, especially not just with the shotgun, but with the camera too. And I want to find out where all of that came from. So let's just go back to the beginning and let's talk about, you're from California. Is that right?
Yeah. Just 20 minutes northeast of Sacramento. So it's a little bit more rural up there. And then we're about an hour and a half south of Chico in like the Butte Sink area, where it's some prime duck hunting. I mean, it's some people that don't, they think the Arkansas timber and the North Dakota and South Dakota, like the drive cornfield hunts, like that's it. It is. Those are every Californian would say, I want out there. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that see what California does, and we shoot well, and it's a different type of, just another different type of hunting.
I had no idea. And then we've got some relatives that live in California, and I was talking to him one year at Christmas or whatever, and he said, hey, anytime you want to come shoot ducks in the desert, let me know. And I was like, duck hunting, like California. And then I did a little bit of research, and Dan, maybe you can pull it up, but I didn't realize just how many duck hunters and how many ducks get shot each year in California. Like duck hunting in California is a big deal.
I started duck hunting like my freshman or sophomore year of high school. My dad wasn't ever really into it. My grandpa did a little bit, but he definitely fished a lot more. My dad is a good fisherman, and then I'd wanted to get my hunting license early, like 10 years old, and I just never had anyone to really do it. And then like one of my mom's best friend's husband duck hunted a little bit, and I always talked about it, and then I just never really did it because I was young, never really had anybody that I thought would take me, kind of thing. So then a lot of my friends in high school, they hunted, and they were pretty successful too, and I just jumped on there, kind of just jumped in and tried to make I think it's hard to, in any outdoorsman activity, it's really hard to just jump into something if you haven't had a father, grandfather,
for sure,
somebody teaching you at a young age. And so when I jumped in and realized, wow, I love this, and this is something that I've known I wanted to do for a really long time, and finally I'm doing it, I jumped in really hard. And a lot of it's hard playing football too, because
it's the fall.
You only get so much time to hunt.
Yeah, right.
And so through my time at like SC, every opportunity I'd have off, I'd just jet up north. And so, but throughout the last 5 years, or 6 years of between college and then in the NFL, I lived all my duck hunting through Instagram and YouTube. People will be like, "Hey, did you seen that video 5 times already?" Like that, because when I'm in Los Angeles, I'm like, where am I going to go hunt?
Yeah.
Like the only time I can go is when I get a day off. So, but I just started learning a ton just through the Instagram, and just really started like diving in really hard. And then, so that was kind of how it all started. And then again, I fell in love with it, and it, in a way, has taken me through from one profession. I don't want to say I gave up my NFL career to dive into this industry, but in a way I did. Like I want, it's something that I just really enjoy doing, and it creates more of that Friday Night Lights high school football feel than it was playing on a Saturday or Sunday.
Dude, I don't have the same story, and I'll just tell this real quick, but I was a radio guy for a long time, and it's the same kind of thing. It kind of consumed my entire life. And I actually lived in North Dakota and didn't buy a hunting license for 5 years just because I was working all the time. And I lived in Fargo, and our AM station, KFGO, our AM station was the flagship for NDSU, for the Bison football team up there. Won a bunch of national championships, good football program. The tailgating was insane. The entire city would come out for it. Well, I'd sit there on a Saturday morning, throwing out T-shirts to drunk college kids, where all my buddies were shooting mallards in cornfields. And I'm like, something is wrong with this picture. And that eventually led me to where I am, because I ended up getting out of that job and kind of focusing on outdoor radio instead. And now I can do my radio show while I'm in the field shooting mallards. So waterfowling has that effect on people, man. Once you fall for it, you fall for it pretty hard. When you got drafted by the Vikings, was hunting, was that part of that at all? Were you excited to come to Minnesota?
Absolutely. But then I had those same thoughts of, we're gonna miss, like, it's hard being in Minneapolis during this time.
Yeah,
like,
it's hard being in Minneapolis all the time. Let's be honest.
But the best thing about playing in California was the season ends the end of January.
Oh.
So I'd have 4 weeks to hunt really hard after the season. And then all the way into late season goose. And when I got drafted to Minnesota, I was like, the season in the whole northern region is the prime, like the prime of our regular season. So it's like, I don't know how much I'm gonna get this done. I hunted, well, not including my open heart surgery because I couldn't shoot a gun. I hunted 3 times in Minnesota, and I was there for 2 years.
Ouch.
So, it was not the most ideal situation.
So not only hunting, but you got into the photography side of waterfowl as well, and probably the outdoors in general. I think taking pictures of ducks is probably my favorite, partly because of all the colors, also just the challenge of capturing the waterfowl in flight, and then just the surroundings that you put yourself in when you're taking pictures of ducks. What got you into waterfowl photography?
So I reference this kid a lot because it was really the way he started. He kind of opened my eyes to what was actually going on in the hunting industry. His name is Brandon Feen. He's out of Butte Sink area.
Sure.
And I think he's 19, 20 years old maybe. He's shooting in Nebraska at I forget the outfitter, but he's phenomenal. He's a great. I mean, I was again living through Instagram, seeing these people posting pictures, and I realized, wow, this industry, this photography, the photography has drastically grown in the hunting industry. Not just wildlife photography, but like just hunting in general. People are like, wow, I can pick up a camera, and the cameras these days are not complicated at all. A mirrorless camera, you see everything you want out of your viewfinder, and like all you do is understand the camera system a little bit, and then understand Lightroom, and you're set. And so that was, I think it was probably 5 years ago where I really dove into it, and I felt like I just wanted to capture these hunts and our memories in different ways than just a little snapshot on my phone. So I dove in hard, and it was right at the end of my college career, and I started making money, and I dove into it really hard, and then it's been a little bit of an inconvenience during the season, because I'd be able to take pictures for a month and a half or 2 months, and then I'd have to put it down. And so I felt like right when I was getting the season going again, I was like, it took me 2 or 3 times to get comfortable with my cameras again, and just kind of figure it out again. So now I'm just really excited to be able to do it like as much as I want to.
Heck yeah. What are you shooting?
I shoot a Canon R6, a couple different bodies.
That's what we're filming this with, is an R6 right now.
Is it?
It's a great camera.
Yeah, it is. I bounced around a lot. I started on a Canon 60 Mark II, and then I went through Sony, and because I was like, oh, I'm gonna go, because Canon was so late to the party of mirrorless cameras, and Sony was running it, and still is. A lot of people would say they are running the tables. Like, it's the options that they offer from everything you need, and I have some complaints right now with Canon, but in the end, like, I think it's the most user friendly. I think I love just like the interface, how the menu system works, how it feels in my hand, and I just didn't like Sony. Like I shot this. I had a Sony A7R4 and then an A9, and I just, if my hand is so big and it's just so uncomfortable, and I traded all my lenses in both my bodies, and I'm like trying to slowly. I'm such a gearhead in every aspect of life that I'm trying to just do with what I need right now, and like
yeah.
I'm probably I need a couple new lenses and 2 more bodies, but for right now, it's like let's just do with what I have and have fun doing it, and it'll be enough.
Yeah, the R6 is amazing. Like, I'm getting into more filming. I was shooting Nikons for stills, and then I was getting into more filming, so I bought a Panasonic GH5, which is a really great video camera. Stills on it aren't the best. And I took a trip with Corey Loeffler. It was during the debut of the Sitka white suits for snow goose hunting. We took a trip down to Texas and back and hunted all the way down and filmed the whole thing. And I was trying to take pictures. The old dog running through shallow water to retrieve a duck pick. And I was so excited to take that photo, and I just could not get it with the GH5. And Corey had his R6 with, and I'm like, let me see that camera. And I didn't want, once I started, I didn't want to give it back to him. And I literally went out and bought one then after I got back. So we're filming with Dan's on the GH5 and I'm on the R6 right now. They're still both good video cameras, but the R6 is just unreal. And the other day, actually, we were filming a goose hunt, and I almost sank it. I almost put it underwater. Like, fell over in my waders in the water. It was like waist deep, and I'm completely underwater except my hand. It's like pushing the sword out. Was the lady in the lake, the sword coming out of the water, and it was like holding the camera up over the surface of the water and sacrificing the rest of my body because it gets a little I put that camera in situations I probably shouldn't.
So I during last year, I was shooting a lot of wildlife photography, again, because I couldn't shoot a gun and I was still around the team, and walking around in Minnesota. And I don't know, I mean, it must in the March water, it must be because like California, it dries up, and I'm in Minnesota, it doesn't. So there was a few times I was just in a couple closed zones, just like trying to make it easy on myself. And I walked in, and I had a pair of muck boots on. Like, I didn't even have waders on or anything. It was that exact day. And I stepped foot, and I sank down to my quad on both feet, on both legs, and my muck boots were completely stuck, and I leaned back, and I was my head, chest, everything was fully underwater, and I just had my camera just like how you described it. And I was like, and I walked like a mile and a half back, soaking wet, like, I mean, disgusting. And I was like, at least I still have this. At least I still have this.
Save the camera. Yeah, you can. It's a lot easier to dry your clothes off than it is an R6. So,
yeah,
man. So when you got interested in photography, obviously you wanted to take pictures of what you're doing out there. But was there a photo that you saw one day, and maybe it was one of Brandon's? Do you remember seeing a picture and saying, "I want to take that picture," or "I want to get into photography because of that photo right there," and try to find a way to take that picture?
So there's a few that come to my mind of a picture that, like, early on in my career, where I was like, this is why I want to do it. This is what drew me to this entire thing. And since then, I'm sure you know who Lee Chose is.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I've got him in the notes. I was going to ask you a question about Lee Chose, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so I talked to him at the game fair a couple weeks ago, and I was over there sitting in the boss tent, talking to him, and he pulled out this book of everything he's done. And I was like, and the greatest part about him is, like, being an older head. Social media wasn't his.
Right.
It's really his thing. He even described it like, I don't really care about social media. And I sat there and I was like, people don't even know who you are, and yet you can pull out this book, and everything that if you're a duck hunter, everything
you've seen his work
someday, like, or in a daily basis of being in Sportsman's Warehouse, Shields, wherever you want to go, you're going to see something that he's taken a picture of.
Yeah.
And on a heavy seal, or all the Benelli stuff, it's like, this guy is the best. I mean, he's probably one of the greatest to ever do it. And then I talked to him, and I was like, so did you have any inspiration? And he answered no. He goes, the inspiration I got was from, like, old school, like, painters.
Yeah.
And I walked away, and I go, that is such an insane response. Because I get a lot of inspiration from people. I find it from, I mean, I have on my photography Instagram, it's all just filled up with different photographers, and just to get inspiration, but also do my own thing, and just to see what people are doing and all that stuff. But when I responded that, I was like, I walked away like, it just feels different. Like, it's what you were born to do, in a way.
Yeah.
So, but to answer your question, I think earlier on, I'd have to go through some pages, but there's a bunch of different pictures that I've saved, and just like, wow, this is
Sure.
early, especially more so early on, because now I feel like I kind of am understanding what my style is and what I want to do and who I am. But earlier on, definitely, like, I could pull out 10 pictures of just different photographers. And I'm like, this is the reason why, or what I wanted to capture when I got to the end result. So.
Well, I wonder how many people Lee Chose is inspired to pick up a camera, because I don't know how many times I've tried to take a picture of a dog retrieving a duck with that splashing water, kind of like what I was talking about earlier, and it's because of Lee Chose. And when I had him on this show, and he told me that he couldn't even remember how many times he's had a photo on the cover of a magazine. He goes, I don't know, 150 something or other, probably more than that. Man, bow to the king. The guy is good at it, and has probably inspired a lot of people. So, you hunted with Tony Van. Was it recently, or you've hunted down at Habitat Flats before?
Yeah. So my dog is at Habitat Flats Kennels right now. So I reached out again through my time spent on YouTube. I think they had posted the video for 3 hours, and it was Tony and Clint. Clint is the head trainer, whoever you want to title it, at HFK, and they were talking about starting a kennel. And I originally had my dog elsewhere, and she was with me for just right after I had open heart surgery, and I called him up and I said, hey, in my head, I'm like, however I can get to be a part of this organization in some way, I'm going to try my best. And I reached out, and Clinton has become a real good buddy of mine. And I got to hunt dove opener with Tony and some of the other owners of Habitat Flats, and it's become a place where I'll spend most of my, like, I'll go up there for their opening day, check on my dog. I've spent a lot of time over there, so. But anyway, it started as, in a way, a business move of like just going to shake some hands and trying to meet some people, and now it's got friendships involved, and it's got relationships, and they're just such great people over there, and I'm thankful to have my dog there, and so yeah. But hunting with Tony was a great experience, to say the least.
I'm sure that's a nice organization there. Where else have you traveled for a waterfowl trip, or where else would you like to go?
Oh, well, the bucket list is long. Hunted in, it's really only been Missouri, Minnesota, and then California, and then into Oregon as well. But Idaho's on the list. Last time I was at the kennel, a guy named Cody Reynolds, who runs Yellowbone Retrievers out of Arkansas. So we've been talking a lot about trying to push over there. I want to get in the timber. That's definitely a bucket list goal. And then I've been reaching out to and talking with Falco out of Oklahoma. That's another bucket list. And obviously, dudes. Yeah, he got back to me quickly, and they're also Minnesota natives. And it's funny, when I first got to Minnesota, I realized I never realized how many different ties there are back to that state. Like, I mean, I was in San Diego 2 years ago, and there was like a full-on Vikings bar. I was like, wow, this is cool. And then a lot of people that I've tied through or met through after I've left in the last 2 months of like, oh yeah, we're originally from Minnesota, we're huge Vikings fans, or blah blah blah. And I'm like, this is crazy. It branches out, but and then obviously the Dakotas are up there. I'll hunt anywhere. I mean,
heck yeah,
and everywhere, Canada.
You need to get Saskatchewan on your list for sure.
That's absolutely.
So
I think that's a bucket list for 95% of duck hunters.
That video is from we stopped at Falco on our way down to Texas. So there's JD Blagg right there. And this is some of the stuff I filmed down there with Corey on our way down there. Falco is a cool place, man. Good dudes.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you one more question. I know we've had you on for a long time here. I want to ask you one more question about the outdoors in the NFL. And what was it like in the locker room? You know, you don't hear a lot about pro sport athletes that like to hunt and fish. You hear about a few. Brian Robinson likes to fish, so you hear about a few of those guys. But what was the reaction like when you'd be in the locker room talking with guys and they'd be talking about what, I don't know, cars or going to the club or whatever, and you'd say, "Man, I got a new 12 gauge." You know, what was the reaction like?
It just kind of depends on who you're talking to. A guy like Eric Kendricks, who I consider a great buddy of mine, like he'll eat up on other people's passions. Like he loves it. He loves hearing what other people are into. And that guy is the most passionate person and loves cars. He loves and is so knowledgeable about them that's just what that's what gets his blood boiling. Like he loves it. And so we would share, you know, our passions for it. I'd talk to him about photography. He would do all this, like ask questions. He's just a cool, genuine dude. And then there's some people who will hear me talk about it and they'll move on. And it's like, yeah, it's like, you know, a form of, if somebody was talking to me about Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like I'd be like, oh, I don't really know anything about it. Like I'm just gonna move on. Yeah. It has a same, and I thought that I was gonna move, you know, go into the NFL and find a lot of people that were into it, and there's really not. I think there was 2 people on the team in my 2.5 years there that hunted a little bit, and most of them are pheasant hunters or upland hunters. Like, sure. So, and then, you know, I'm hearing about Chad Greenway, and I'm like, man, I just missed him. Like, what a great person, you know, from South Dakota, loves a duck hunt. It's like, wow, that would have been a great person to be around. And I've been in contact with Brian Robertson a little bit, and I'm picking up on bass fishing a lot in the last 2 years. I love it. So we've kind of been talking a little bit, but yeah, people are just, you know, something that, again, that's so unfamiliar with people. Yeah. If you're not bored into it, it's hard to get into. For sure. It's hard to listen to people about it. It's just a different lifestyle. Absolutely. Well, all right, man. We'll let you get back there. I appreciate the time. If you ever get up to Minnesota, you want to do some hunting, let me know. We'll go chase some ducks and geese around. And tell everybody where we can find you on social media. Yeah, my photography Instagram is cam.smith.photo. I've played with some names around there, and it will probably change a lot. But it's also in my my regular Instagram bio. My regular Instagram is _killicam. So yeah, you can find that there. Yeah, so hopefully it'll be growing here pretty soon, and like I said, it's something I'm chasing and gonna do everything I can to get my, you know, to do what I want to do for the rest of my life and do something that I love. So yeah. For sure, man. Well, if you were listening to this on the radio station, you can catch more of this interview on our YouTube or Facebook channel. Cam Smith, glad you're doing well health-wise. Good luck in the waterfowl world, man. It's you'll love it. It's so much fun. You already do, but you'll love it. And thanks for the time today on the show. All right. Thank you so much. You guys take care.
852 million acres of public land, 147 million private properties,
all in the palm of your hand. The #1 hunting GPS app just got better. With hundreds of custom map layers, 3D and topographic maps, you can easily scout on the road or at home before you go. And now you can get important weather details, CWD detection, and even know what crops have been planted where. Get the most trusted hunting GPS app ever made. OnX. Know where you stand with OnX.